Welcome back, everybody. This is the second part of my show tonight, the second segment of Real School Sports with James Krasnerick, as always. In my previous segment, I broke down how I believe the Indianapolis Colts will overcome the Kansas City Chiefs in the first round of the NFL playoffs and will advance to the divisional round. And by my prediction here, I will detail where I think they will go, because if the Chargers win, then the Colts will go to New England. And if the Bengals win, the Colts will go to Denver. That game, speaking of which, time to talk about this game in particular. We've got the 6th-seeded San Diego Chargers, wild cards at 9-7, getting in the last day of the playoffs to take on the 11-5 third-seeded AFC North champion Cincinnati Bengals. This is going to be one of the more interesting games of the playoffs, because I think this is the only game that has the potential to either way be one-sided. Because you look at New Orleans and Philadelphia in the NFC, that's going to be a high-scoring close game. You look at the other one between San Francisco and Green Bay, grudge match in Lambeau, both teams can run, that'll be a close game. You look at the one I just talked about, I think Indy and KC will be a close game. I don't think this game's going to be particularly close, and either team can pull ahead. Because if you look at the Chargers, for one, this year, they've been able to score some points. Phillip Rivers with 32 touchdown passes, having one of his best seasons, 12th in the league, averaging 24.8 points per game. And then they're playing against the Bengals team that averages 26.9 points per game. So we got some offense in this game. Well, the one thing about Cincinnati that they have that San Diego doesn't is defense. And that's where I think is going to be the real difference. Real turning point, because Cincinnati's defense, from points, yards, passing yards, and rushing yards, outranks San Diego. 5th in points, 3rd in yards, 5th in pass, and 5th in rush defense. Compared to the Chargers, they are 11th in points, 23rd in yards, 29th in passing, and 12th in rushing. They have had some problems getting off the field, and they've had some problems stopping some teams. If you look at the years the quarterbacks have had, I mean, Phillip Rivers has 32 touchdown passes and only 11 interceptions. This year, Andy Dalton had his best season by far. His turnover rate went up, but overall, he had statistically the best season, throwing for 4,296 yards, completing almost 62% of his passes for 33 touchdowns, which is a franchise record. His 33 touchdown passes this year is 3rd in the National Football League, and his passing 7th in the league in passing yards. I will say that he's played better this year, and Phillip Rivers in the last few years has been like a night and day improvement. Like 2009, he had a very efficient year. Again, one of his, I think it was like 2 or 3 years in a row, he had been really efficient. Ever since he became a starting quarterback, last 3 years he kind of was in a funk. He had a lot of turnovers. But this year, he's really cut down the turnovers and the fumbles, and his 11 interceptions, a lot of them are by chance, and he's not made that many bad decisions with the football. But the problem that really, defines this game, that is the biggest problem for San Diego, is not the fact that Cincinnati outranks them in defense or the fact that Dalton's thrown more touchdowns. The problem is Phillip Rivers' mobility. I mean, I said it when he first came out in 2004 when he was drafted. Even after he had his knee surgery after the playoff game against the Colts before the game against the Patriots. He is not one of the league's most mobile quarterbacks. If you look at it, Peyton Manning is probably more mobile than Phillip Rivers, and that really says something because Peyton Manning's about as mobile as a statue. The difference is that Phillip Rivers is, he's had a good year, has been able to avoid some would-be pass rushes and make some plays. But if you look at the way that this game sets up, Phillip Rivers is going to have to be eluding pass rushes all day long. I know Geno Atkins, the best lineman the Bengals have, and maybe the best defensive lineman in terms of pass rushing in the NFL, is not playing in this game. He's out for the season with an ACL injury. but Michael Johnson and Carlos Dunlap can get to the quarterback. If you look at the game this year that they played against each other in San Diego, the Chargers ended up beating the Bengals ended up beating the Chargers 17-10. It would be the final loss for the Chargers this year. They would win their last 4 games. In that game, Phillip Rivers may only have been sacked 2 times, but he pursued heavy pressure all game long. And that's going to be a problem. That really is. I don't think, like in Cincinnati, this pass rush really, really picks up. They average more sacks at home than on the road. And if they are able to generate any kind of consistent pressure on Rivers, he's going to be hitting the deck a few times. They don't have a really. They have Ryan Matthews who's had over 1,200 yards this year and over half a dozen touchdowns to bail him out on the ground. But the linebacking core with James Harrison and Vontaze Burfict being a Pro Bowler and Harrison being a Defensive Player of the Year in his previous stint with the Steelers, they're not going to be able to run the football very well because Cincy is 5th in the league in rushing. On the flip side, the Bengals are the Chargers are 29th in pass defense, and Dalton, unless he goes out and has one of his 4 interception games like he's prone to having, I think that he wins this. I think that the Bengals will win this game, and I think it's going to be a big win because the Bengals have not won a playoff game in the last 2.5 decades. Like if you look at the last time they won the playoffs, you have to go back to January 6, 1991 when they took out the Houston Oilers, a team that isn't even in the NFL anymore. The Houston Oilers. So needless to say, it's been a long time since they won a playoff game, and I think they're due. I think they're due for a playoff win. I mean, San Diego hasn't won a playoff game in a long time either, but their last playoff win was the 2008 divisional wildcard playoff against the Colts. I look for the Bengals to extend that losing streak a little bit longer. I think the Bengals will win this game, and I think they'll win it easily because I think they'll get pressure on Rivers. I don't think Ryan Matthews is going to have a good day running the football. It's in Cincinnati, which means, West Coast team coming to East Coast and coming from the nice San Diego weather, balmy, to the hectic northeastern weather. It's going to be a problem, especially if it's rain like there's predicted. I think that really favors the Bengals and the ability for them to extend drives, for Dalton to make plays with his arm. He's got receivers A.J. Green, who's going to be an all-pro. They've got, tight ends Tyler Eifert and Jermaine Gresham and running back Giovanni Bernard, who's been a real find in the draft. And Morgan Jones, wide receiver. They've got a lot of weapons, and they got an offensive line that Dalton has literally had very little pressure against them at all this year. I think the Bengals win this game, and I think my final score for this game is 31-20, but that could be subject to change. They're favored by a touchdown, but I think that game could actually get even more one-sided. By the end of the game, San Diego, I said this is one of the games where either way, whoever team wins is going to be a blowout. And I think that this is a game where I think Cincinnati, I think they get their first playoff win since 1990-1991 season. And I think against the San Diego Chargers, a good team because they're significantly better on defense. Offense, they're pretty much a push, but that big edge on defense is a big factor. And the fact that they're at home, too, makes all the difference. So with that being said, that means that the Bengals will go to New England to play the Patriots in a rematch of earlier this season. And when the Patriots, when Tom Brady for the Patriots, his touchdown pass in a game streak ended, one shy of tying Drew Brees, and that would mean that the Colts will travel to Denver to take on the Broncos in a rematch of the game earlier this year, which featured the Denver Broncos' first loss. So there you have it. I predict the Chargers to fall to the Bengals, and I predict the Chiefs to fall to the Colts. Back tomorrow night, early Saturday morning, I should say, with my NFC wildcard playoff predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care.